Hello everybody and welcome to the next race review in the 2025 British Touring Car Championship. With me it's my good friend Ben, say hello.
Hello!
And we are going to be covering the Silverstone National Circuit. This is the iconic separate circuit, not the actual F1 circuit. It still runs off the old layout, and yeah, we had a few interesting moments this weekend, but most importantly it's the second to last, so the penultimate I think it is, round of the championship before we get to the finale at Brands Hatch. And obviously it was all to play for in terms of the championship. Would it be Ingram that came out with a bigger lead than he did before, or would it be Sutton that reeled him in? So let's find out. So moving into qualifying, it was eliminations of Morgan, Chilton, Smiley, Hamilton and Camish. They were the drivers to get knocked out in Group 1. Camish coming under fire from a ride height check, which put him out in Group 1. Group 2 saw eliminations of Buxton, Patterson, Osborne, Halstead, and surprisingly, Tom Ingram was knocked out in Group 2. When we got to the top 12, so Part 2, we saw that Sutton, Rowbottom, Moffat, Rainford, Taylor Smith, and Doble went from the pack. And when we got to the Fast 6 shootout, we knew that it was going to be interesting because the fact that the title rivals were further down the leaderboard, and with most of the older nappers basically out at this point, it meant that the Fast 6 shootout was going to be interesting. And it was, as Darrell De Leon scored his first BTCC pole, just eking out Gordon Shedden and Jake Hill to take pole, with Darrell De Leon's time being a 1 minute 2.218, with Shedden being 38 thousandths of a second behind and Hill being a little over 0.2 of a second behind De Leon. So moving into race 1 then, we saw a good start by De Leon to hold the lead from attacking Shedden, who would not let off. Lloyd immediately got past Hill for third place, and by the end of lap 1 it was Shedden who attacked De Leon, which caused De Leon to go wide, allowing Lloyd to pass him. Great start by Ingram and Sutton to keep their title hopes alive. Laps 2 saw Lloyd hit the front to lead from Shedden, with Hill getting up to third place shortly after. Lap 4 saw Ingram and Sutton fight for the same position further back, with Ingram coming out on top. 1 lap later we saw Hill take Shedden for second place, and before long he was gunning down Lloyd for the lead, but Lloyd kept his defence up for as long as he could. De Leon's race took a bad turn as by lap 8 he was down to 8th place. Rowbottom was fending off Cook for 6th place up until the end of lap 8, where Cook finally got his man. Ingram was still moving up the field as he passed De Leon for 8th place. Lap 16, so a fair few laps into the race, saw Cook move up to 5th ahead of Moffat. However, further back we saw Doble retire due to damage sustained in the previous incident with Chilton and De Leon. Lap 18 saw drama as Chilton suffered a rear puncture, but it wasn't the worst thing to happen as Nick Hamilton's car went up in flames, quite drastically I might add, and this brought out the safety car. The safety car, however, stayed out for the rest of the race, which meant that it was Dan Lloyd who took his first win in 3 years with Restart Racing, with Hill and Shedden rounding out the podium. A well-deserved result, I'm sure, and one very well-deserved for Dan Lloyd, as I'm sure he would tell you. Great to see him back on the top step of the rostrum. So your race 1 results were as follows. Dan Lloyd was your race winner and he took the fastest lap to boot as well. Then we had Jake Hill in 2nd, Shedden 3rd, Proctor 4th, Cook 5th, Moffat 6th, Ingram 7th, Sutton 8th, Rowbottom 9th and Adam Morgan in 10th. And it's over to you for race 2, Ben.
Yeah, so for race 2, before we even started, sort of on like the warm-up lap, it was noticed that Camish's car was in the pit with the bonnet up. It wasn't looking good, and then just as all the cars were lining up to start the race, he got out of the car and sort of looked like he'd basically been told, yeah, it's not happening. I think later on in the race, they said it was something to do with his turbo that was wrong with the car. So, going on to the race itself, it was a good start for Lloyd and Hill. They were really going side by side around quite a lot of the circuit. And Ingram just went for it and gained 4 places in a matter of corners to be straight into 3rd immediately. He was gunning behind him. He knew what was on offer for this race. So on to lap 2. Ingram was ready behind Lloyd, and Hill just instantly got past Lloyd easily, so it meant that Ingram was sort of just kept behind him for now. On to lap 3. He's already close to Hill at this point, and he's pushing for his way past. He's just carried it on as such, like what Hill did. At this point into lap 4, Ingram easily just got past Hill with him having more boost and being on the soft tyre. Onto lap 5, Sutton now got past Lloyd to get into 3rd place as well, so it seems that he's probably trying to gun to keep us close to Ingram, not to lose too many points in this penultimate part of the championship. Onto lap 9, Chilton hits Rainford, it broke his steering, he was immediately off to the left hand side into the gravel trap at Luffield, and this brought out the safety car. Onto lap 13, the safety car is in. Ingram really planned it well, so he got a good getaway with a really good restart because of this. Onto lap 14, Morgan has his bonnet up, he was driving along and I think he'd hit into the back of someone. His bonnet just went straight flying up and he managed to luckily look under it. He entered the pits for it to get sorted by his team, which every so often you get an off-camera shot seeing a couple of his guys sort of smashing around the bonnet and trying to move the pins to get it back to a line. On to lap 20, nearly a 4-second lead at this point for Ingram. He's really done well this race. It was insane to see how much of a charge he put on. On to lap 23, Rowbottom now has smoke coming out of his car, and it's not really looking good for Napa this week because it's sort of seeing like the type of thing that was going on with Camish's car might be coming to Rowbottom's car as well. Last lap of the race, and Ingram won with an easily big lead over Sutton, who managed to get into 2nd. So your race result was, first was Ingram with the fastest lap, 2nd was Sutton, not losing too many points to Ingram and keeping as close as he can at this point, 3rd is Hill, 4th is Taylor Smith, 5th is Rainford, 6th is Lloyd, 7th is Shedden, 8th is Moffat, 9th is Cook and 10th is De Leon. Over to you for race 3, Brad.
Thanks, Ben. So this race saw Sam Osborne get put on pole, and he got a great start from Mikey Doble. He was drawn behind, there was Smiley and Camish went off. Then Lloyd spun off after contact with Aaron Taylor Smith, which meant it was a bad day at the office at the final race for Restart Racing. Up at the front, we saw Ingram and Sutton both moving forward, and by lap 3 they were in 5th and 7th place respectively. Cook managed to pass Doble for 2nd place on lap 3. Moffat managed to pass Doble for 3rd on lap 4. Further back we saw Rainford, Shedden and Camish all fighting for position, with Camish coming out on top in that battle. As the laps ticked by, it was obvious that team games were the order of this race. Lap 8 showed this well as Ingram went into battle against Hill, but by leaving the door open, it allowed Rowbottom to steam ahead of Ingram. This race saw some great drives by the Napa and Virtue drivers, as Rowbottom was up to 6th from 18th. Camish went from 21st to 9th, and Chilton was up to 12th from 20th by lap 12. Rowbottom saw a lot happen in such a short time. First he ran out of boost, then he started losing places, and to top everything off he got a 10-second penalty for track limits. With only a few laps to go we saw Moffat go wide, which allowed Hill to get past. However, up at the front we saw a brand new winner in the BTCC, which was Sam Osborne. With Cook and Sutton rounding out the podium, it meant Napa managed to get a win on the board for the day, with Osborne being another new winner for the winner's circle. So after what seemed like quite a while for Sam Osborne, I'm sure, race 3 results look like this. Osborne was your race winner, Cook was 2nd, Sutton was 3rd along with the fastest lap, Hill was 4th ahead of Ingram, Moffat, Morgan, Chilton, Camish and Doble, which rounded out the top 10. Now in terms of the driver's standings, you can see here on screen right now, Ingram has a substantial lead still over Sutton. It's about 33 points, I think, something like that, give or take. All things depending. At the moment, it seems very much a case of Ingram's title to lose, should Sutton come good in Brands Hatch, and Ingram should see it all fall away. But with them two being where they are, it basically puts them the only guys that can win the championship. Camish is firmly out of it, as is Hill, Rowbottom, Chilton, everybody else behind. However, that doesn't stop the drivers from actually competing for the place. So, as I said, you've got Ingram and Sutton that are 33 points apart. Then there's a massive gap back to Camish, with Hill literally right on his tail. Rowbottom could still snag 3rd if he has a good race, and Camish and Hill fail to score. Chilton will probably remain 6th, although he is in a tight battle with Adam Morgan in 7th. Then we have Charles Rainford in 8th, Aidan Moffat in 9th, and Gordon Shedden rounding out the top 10. So, Ben, who were your winners from this weekend?
Definitely Ingram. He's done well to sort of not lose it at this point and keep his title hopes to very high. I'll speak to you a bit before that I realised, I don't know how it's gone under me, but I've sort of realised that Darrell de Leon's doing really well in the BMW. He's managed to, obviously get the podium and everything, and the qualifying podium, and he's done really well in sort of keeping in the top 10, really, really a lot. He's consistently just sort of in there. And then the other one who I'd say is obviously Mr. Lloyd, because it's been so good to sort of see him get that win after everything that's gone on from last year and all sorts of other stuff where he's been so close, but it's always had that problem with a car or something. So I'd say them three, but there is a few others which you may or may not mention, but they're the main ones at the top of my head right now.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Lloyd and Ingram for sure. I'd probably say Cook from my perspective, because I think that whilst that Toyota's not been 10 out of 10, I think he's definitely getting a lot out of it. Someone that did kind of go under the radar a little bit, I'd say, was Charles Rainford. Even though he didn't get in the top 10 in race 1 or 3, I'd say that 5th place in race 2 was a pretty strong contention. Shedden did very well to get some really good point scoring going on as well. But yeah, I think, realistically speaking, definitely Ingram was the biggest winner from this weekend. Now, things don't end there. We're now currently on Wednesday as we're recording this, so we're quite late after the race. And as of today, as of Wednesday, the 24th September, 2 big things have happened the last couple of days, but one's happened within today. So the first thing is that Jason Plato is looking at making a return to the BTCC in 2026, albeit with his own team. He doesn't know what, in his words, he doesn't know who's driving, what cars they've got, what sponsors they are, but they're just trying to get the last few sponsors across the line, which should be amazing. If you haven't seen the interview with him, I would highly recommend it. And the second one, which was a big shock, this only came a couple of hours ago, is that Jake Hill has announced his leaving, retirement, I guess you could call it, from BTCC and from WSR, and he's off to pursue other motorsports. We don't know what exactly, but Ben has a few details. So what's the details, Ben?
Yeah, so right now he's currently signed with Era Motorsport. If you follow any of their sort of socials, you'll see they're racing in the 24-hour of Barcelona coming up. I think it's this weekend, or it might be a weekend coming up. He will be driving their GT3 Ferrari in that, the 296, I think. And he seems he's been sort of in that Ferrari and quite a few other sort of things. So based on what I've heard him say in the past and what he seems to be doing, I think he wants to try and do a lot of 24-hour endurance races on a number of tracks, and his main one being the Nürburgring. So I'd say keep an eye on his socials, because he won't just be with Era Motorsport, because they don't compete in every endurance championship. So keep an eye on what he can do, because he doesn't just have to be with one team. He can flip-flop to loads of different teams in different championships and sort of just see what he does, because over the year, if he's like any other GT3 driver, he could be literally every weekend of the year, he could be in a different car on a different track. So I'd say just keep an eye, and it should be fun to see what he does.
Yeah, and with the likes of Sutton and possibly even Ingram being involved in different racing series. I mean, obviously we know that Charles Rainford has obviously been in classic racing, has got into touring cars. I wouldn't be surprised if Ingram went the other way or Sutton was to go in GT3, but again, that's just probably crazy talk at the moment, but you never know. You never know what might happen. But in terms of the finale, Ben, we're going into Brands Hatch now. Obviously, it's going to be the GP circuit, of course. Strong car for Hill last year, but Ingram has that really good car under him this year. Is there any chance Sutton can do anything, do you think?
Well, if you base it on past years, Napa's got no chance. It seems that weekend is awful for them, and the car just wants to die. So if you base it on that, no, he has zero chance. But racing is racing. Literally anything could happen. It could flip to that. That's what Ingram gets this year, and Sutton just somehow walks away with it in the final weekend because Ingram's car's completely destroyed. But I'd hope not. I'd like to see him battle it out on track. I'd like to see it go to the final race because it's a bit of fun. Although I quite like it usually when it goes to the race before, because then the final race, whoever's champion really pulls it out of the bag and just goes for it without caring about having to defend or anything going on. So who knows? I hope it's just a fun weekend of racing. Personally, right now I'm going to put my money on it being Ingram because, well, it's Sutton's going to really have to pull it out of the bag and do something interesting. But anybody who wants to see something interesting go on, put your money on Sutton.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, like I was saying before, I think it's Ingram's championship to lose. I think Sutton has a lot that needs to go right for him to make him champion. But then again, the weather could always play a part. And who knows, maybe we could see one final new race winner, or two, maybe, I don't know. But it would be nice to see, obviously, I'm sure a lot of people are Ingram fans and they'll probably like to see him become a two-time champion. I've no doubt that between him and Ash, it's going to be an exciting finale. Well, like I said, weather depending. If it's dry, I think I can just see Ingram running away with it. If it's wet, then obviously chaos, anything can happen. I mean, Sutton's preying on a miracle. We might even... This is probably a long shot, but it'd be nice if we got something like 2019 with Turkington and Camish, although we know that was kind of sabotaged, I guess, by Neil to get it to work in Camish's favour for that year, but I don't know. I mean, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, could be interesting.
But on that note, we are going to end this video here. Let us know what you thought of the racing at Silverstone, and let us know what you think of the news of Jason Plato returning and Jake Hill retiring. It'll be very interesting to hear your thoughts on that. Obviously, as always, we'll be back in 2 weeks' time, week and a half's time from now, where we will see the finale and our British Touring Car Champion. Will it be Ingram? Will it be Sutton? Only one way to find out, and that's race. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Have a great day, night, evening, wherever you are in the world. And from myself and Ben, thanks for watching, and ta-ra.
Bye-bye.